everybody, it's Dr. Rick dropping in on you. Hope everybody's having a good close to the week. A lot going on with the family and everything, so keep us lifted. Not going to get into it, but definitely send love, prayers, and keep us lifted. Those who know. Anyway, as I always say, if you believe in the work that I do, show some love, show some support, and get behind what we're doing. It definitely matters. If you can't see the need for the programs and the engagement and the awareness and all the things that we do, I don't know what to tell you. All the complaining comes from an inability to understand where we're at. So again, I'm going to challenge you. Go to the description box, click on the link, or if you prefer to donate by way of Cash App, that information's in there as well. But show some love for the work we do. Not just something we popped up and started doing a year ago, 2 years ago. We've been in this for over 2 decades. We've been visible in delivering via the internet for 12. So this isn't something new. All right, with that being said, I told you that would be some segmented, gradual updates on what's going on in the Shaquella Robinson saga, and that's because things are going to be developing and people are going to be bringing out new information, and so there's going to be things that may change the framing. As of right now, things are pretty steady, but that could change. What I'm noticing, and the reason I'm here now, and this shouldn't take too long, it's probably going to piss some people off. You know I love y'all, but you also know that I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to deliver truth. I'm here to challenge those who are willing to listen and learn. I'm willing to learn while teaching, but I'm not here to make friends and make everybody feel good. That feel good stroke, you've gotten enough of that from the Democratic Party that's delivered you jack. And so when I share with you, I'm sharing as a challenge. I'm sitting up and I'm giving you observations, insights, studied, learned, premises, principles, and so forth. So look, what I am aware of, what has been immensely conspicuous to me, is the silence of the feminist when it comes to being outraged at the senseless killing of a black woman. And when I say feminists, I'm meaning feminists in general, not just black feminists. I'm talking about feminists, period. Because see, there's this dynamic that's highly convoluted that we tend to get caught up in and lose every time. And that's the multi-leveled, slanted dynamic of feminism. In other words, you have general feminism, you have white female feminism, then you have everything behind it, including black feminism. Now, everything that's being pushed is being pushed by the white feminists, and the white feminist is looking to gain ground and leverage by using other female groups as leverage and strength in numbers. However, if you ever pay attention, whenever something happens and it's not directly linked to a white female, and in a way that it is obvious leverage and a winnable situation, you get nothing from them. Sisters are dying on a regular basis. A lot of them are being killed by black men, but a lot of them are killing each other. Some are being killed by white men. You never see white feminists show up and say, hey, we're going to war with you. Another thing that I would ask my sisters to pay attention to is how hard they push for black women to go in on black men and see black men as their enemy. And they'll play the game, they'll talk the rhetoric, but when it comes down to the things that really matter, they vote what they're truly committed to. And they vote for white men in positions of power. It wasn't the failure of black people to turn out. And I'm not on one or the other side of this argument of whether he should have been elected or not, but it wasn't the lack of turnout of blacks that put Trump in office. Now, that's always, we get blamed for everything. We're blamed for the fact that certain states didn't turn blue or didn't stay blue in this last election. And the crazy thing is, they really actually think we're stupid and that we can't do math. See, the math tells me if we're talking about national elections, we make up 14% of the population in total. And therefore, if you're saying specifically the reason Stacey Abrams did not get reelected, and I am quoting, is because of uneducated black men. Now, granted, depends on how you define educated and uneducated. Is it a slight or way of actually calling black men stupid, or are we actually talking about a certain educational level achieved? That wasn't clarified, but the statement was made. So it's black men's fault. Actually, the math doesn't support that. The math doesn't support that. And it doesn't, it's almost to a point where it doesn't even support it on local levels. Here's why: serial forced displacement. Blacks are consistently being dispersed from places that we have historically held as our communities. Those communities are now being gentrified. White people are moving in, and black people who are not financially affluent are being forced out, even when they own, because they can't afford the property taxes. And so what you're getting now is when you disperse a people, they're not going to all land in the same community. They're going to end up in different places wherever they find to go. And so what happens is they end up being around some Latinos. They end up being around some impoverished or lower middle class whites. And what happens is the numbers that they held in that enclave for decades, they don't have anymore, because now they've been pushed out. Serial forced displacement is not just about whites claiming property for the sake of wealth and whatever. When you disperse, you also diminish collective power in any given geographical area. So again, we have all this going on. So that's something to think about. But here's the thing. It was white, middle and upper middle class women who made the difference in Trump being elected. This is after Trump was on tape talking about grabbing them by the you-know-what and saying all kind of other stuff. And to me, again, I'm not about the lesser of two evils. I don't play that bullshit. Evil is evil. I may not be able to control who, not allowing either one of you to go, but the lesser two evils, it's going to be a difference in how you screw me. I'm not going to endorse someone screwing me. I may not be able to stop you, but if I see that you don't have my best interest at hand, I'm not getting behind you. Because see, what happens is, if I'm willing to give you my vote and you're giving me nothing, you're just screwing me a little less than the other person. And the truth is, Dems aren't really screwing us less than others. They just do it nicely. They actually screw us more. If you look, we've suffered more under Democrats than we have Republicans, but they say it nice and they love to holler racism, get us riled up and point us at Republicans. And Republicans are non-bending, and they have these things that they stand on. And if you look at them, it's like, hey, so I can see their racism. The bottom line is it's all coming from the same bird. Right wing, left wing really isn't. that important to me. What it is we haven't gained any ground, no matter what party is in power. It just hasn't happened. So we obviously have some of us who are doing well. We have some of us who are doing extremely well, but the vast majority aren't gaining ground. Matter of fact, blacks as a collective are actually moving backwards. The wealth gap is widening. Home ownership is the same as it was when we had the Civil Rights Acts passed, the Voters' Rights Act, all that stuff was passed, and we have not gained one ground. 41% home ownership among blacks last I checked, pretty much the same as it was in 1960. So what are we saying? We need to be aware and smart. But when it comes back to this whole thing with Shaquella Robinson, I would expect those who are literally looking to lynch black men for killing a black woman, I have no problem with that. I have a problem when gas is being poured on the fire about white women who don't give a shit about black women. I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with a black woman wanting the head of a black man who kills a black woman. I don't have a problem at all. I want the head of a black man who kills a black woman, period. I have no tolerance for it. Don't want it, can't stand it. Can't win with it, can't do nothing with it. But here's my thing. All of the people that I see on a regular, not all, a significant portion of the people I see on a regular basis championing this, black girl magic, we don't need a man, the hell with black men, and all this other stuff. And then the white women who are championing all the little stuff that's got everybody gassed up from Me Too on down. I don't see the same level of energy see that young lady who died senselessly, her death is equally senseless, even though it came at the hand of a female. Now granted, there were some trifling ass dudes that didn't do jack. I've already talked about that, and I'll be talking about that for a while. But as far as the violent act itself, that was carried out by a black female. And what we need to talk about is holding that person accountable, going hard in the paint. And I'm pretty sure that if everything shows to be what it looks like in that video, that person is going to have to deal with something. Now the thing is, what is interesting is that it is something that happened in another country. So we have some things that we need to see and do that. And that's why, again, we need to be very vocal about what we're demanding. It shouldn't simply fall on the parents to sit up and say we want justice. It should be the community sitting up saying this type of behavior is unacceptable. And when we see this type of behavior, we're going to look to throw you to the wolves because you are behaving in a way that's counterintuitive and counterproductive for what we say we're trying to do. Now, my thing is, I'm not one to keep a woman down. I believe a woman has a right to be her best self. I believe a woman has the right to live free. I think I've demonstrated that more than anything in this past year. I'm not about controlling a woman. I'm about loving a woman and loving our women to a place where they feel safe. And of course, you're not going to always get what you think you want. You're not going to always get what you think you need or you deserve. Sometimes you're not going to get appreciation in things. The bottom line is there has to be a state of mind. And right now, I was telling somebody this earlier. We are in a mindset now to where everybody's so worried about what they can get that we lost our ability to care about what we have to give, how we have the capacity to serve, how we have the capacity to live. I'm not going to let them get over on me. I'm not doing this for them if they're not doing. Somebody has to be the person that says, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to be the mecca of change. I'm going to be the image of change. I'm going to be the model of change. I'm going to be what people look at and say, that's how you move as a man. That's how you move as a woman. Somebody has to be upset, because if we all sit up talking about what someone else is doing, there are going to be all these excuses of why we don't have to do what is going to be absolutely necessary in order for us to rise. We can sit up and we can make all the excuses we want. We can point to what everybody else is doing wrong. But if somebody doesn't stand up and say, that is not how we do it, this is how we do it, and you're going to risk giving more than you get. But if you're truly talking about black collective power, then there has to be some sacrifice. There have to be some people who get out and do what I've done. That get out and fund programs that nobody else won't fund, to serve people. I'm literally paying to serve somebody. And people say, no, I'm writing a legacy. That's more important to me than just the money. And I'm paying to do something that people need. And I'm trusting that God's law of reciprocity will serve me, that what I sow, I reap. And I've been blessed. I've been blessed beyond measure. I've been blessed to live a life that most people won't lead. And my belief is, until the average black man can live the life I lead without having to navigate all the challenges I had to navigate. Anybody can do what I've done, but it shouldn't be as hard as it's been. And I shouldn't be among the few. We have so much creativity. We have so much imagination. Most of the stuff that we're looking at that we use as luxuries, technology and all the things, were created by us. Hell, we were the ones that were being worked to death. So you can imagine anything that made work easier came from us. They didn't give a damn. So we have all of that ingenuity. And yet we are sitting here and turned in on one another, hating one another, blaming one another. And yeah, there's some stuff that's going on both sides that needs to stop. And I call it out when I see it, and I don't care who likes it or who doesn't like it. What I do want to be is that person when I'm done. I can be proud of what I've done. I can be comfortable with how I stood. I can sit up and say, I didn't go with what was popular. I went with what was right. But we need everybody to champion for justice, not just for Shaquella, for the young men who were killed in Virginia, not just for them. What about all the kids who are not going to get press, whose cases will never be known to the masses, but they're happening in your community or the community you grew up in, and or the community somebody you know lives in, and they don't have a voice. They don't have anybody speaking for them. They need justice too. Everybody who does something wrong and harms someone in our community needs to be held accountable too. There shouldn't be any cold cases in murder in the hood. We know. And it's time that we start holding people accountable. If we're really talking about rising to a level, that comes with a change in thinking that observes and considers the collective many times above self. That is what I'm going to challenge everybody who watches this to do. As I get off, I'm going to challenge you one more time. Show some love. If you believe in the work we're doing, you believe what I've done, believe in what I've done for years, you know the work I do. Some of you watching have actually worked with me, have actually came and benefited from me. Show some love. None of this stuff happens for free. Show some love. But I had to say that. I don't see all the people who love championing the destruction of black men with the slightest provocation standing up and speaking as strongly since this young girl was killed by another female. She's still dead. Her life still mattered. it was still senseless violence. And I'm not trying to pit one against the other. I'm saying anybody who causes harm needs to be held accountable, and the trumpet needs to be just as loud regardless. I don't think her parents and anybody else who's negatively impacted by her death is caring what the gender of the person who killed her is. On that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. Thank you guys for stopping in. You guys have an unbelievable evening. I'm gonna do the same. All right, I'm out.